Mojo Show, your real estate podcast, where we talk everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, we are kicking off a new series on open houses for the spring housing markets. And this week, we're focusing on preparing your home to sell. But before we get to that, jump into our usual coffee talk in the morning, Joe. I got to ask you something. So, as you know, I've been here in Texas for about 8 months now, right?
Is that it?
And I know 8 months. That's it. Oh, it's coming up on 9. So, okay. And all my trips down here before, though, I'd always heard about Buc-ee's, right? Buc-ee's. So I got to ask, when you go to Buc-ee's, and for those of you tuning in that doesn't know what Buc-ee's are, that tells me that you don't live in Texas, which is fine. That's fine. But when you come to Texas, you got to hit up a Buc-ee's. It's just the experience itself. You have to hit up a Buc-ee's. Joe, when you go to Buc-ee's, what is there one thing that you got to get when you go to Buc-ee's?
I'm a sucker for their potato chips, the ones that they have under the heat lamps. They make fresh every day. I'm a big sucker for those. And then also their brisket sandwiches. I don't know what it is about their brisket sandwiches. And I love brisket, but their brisket sandwiches on the go and quick are one of the best around.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really been a nice thing. But Buc-ee's before, they weren't up in the North Texas part. They were mainly down in the South area, like down in Houston area and things like that.
Okay.
So it's been nice. Since 12, we've had 2 of them built within 10 minutes of my house, which has not been good for my weight, but it's been really good for, when people come in town, I don't have to drive very far. There's one over by the Texas Motor Speedway on 35W. And then they put that one that you know about up in Denton off of 35E. So if you're coming in from Oklahoma, it's not a very far drive. It's about 45 minutes from the border to get to either one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to admit, I will agree with you on the brisket sandwich. Last time I was there, I just needed something that tied me over. It was on my trip up there to the office in the Dallas area, and I just needed something that tied me over. And so when I stopped at the Buc-ee's, I saw that, snagged one up, and I gotta admit that was really good. But I've never seen the chips though. The chips.
They're just like, I call them chips, but they're potato skin kind of chips that they fry, and they're right there. They're right on the same spot as the brisket sandwiches and everything else.
All right.
My daughter and I, we always get a bag of those and we share them and go into softball tournaments and things like that. So that's the one thing that I go in and I get every time.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. I'm gonna have to check out those chips. Well, I am super excited about today's episode, Joe. We've got a special guest on. Super pumped about this. She's been a longtime resident of Argyle, Texas, and intimately knows the ins and outs of North Texas real estate market. Over 20 years experience alongside her deep roots in the community, allowing her to provide the best in class service for her clients. Her signature methodology, I love this, brings her sellers top dollar and her buyers find their dream home. Please welcome to the show, everyone, Lori Blad, everyone.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Yay.
Well, this is a pleasure because Lori and I have been working together for almost a year now, probably right at a year now. And it's awesome to have you on the show. We really are excited to have you here. If anybody listening, please make sure you put comments in, ask questions as we're going through things. Lori will be glad to answer those questions that you have. And thank you, Amber, for already commenting. She loves some Buc-ee's, so I think that's a good thing. But Lori, tell everybody a little bit about yourself before we get into the questions and stuff on how to prepare your house to sell.
Yeah, so I am, I don't even know how many generation Texan, like 3rd, 4th generation Texan. I grew up in Denton. I have to always qualify that with I did leave. I have left. I came back. I grew up in Denton. I left for college, came back, brought my husband back, started our family. Then we left again. We went overseas for a while, and then we came back. This has always been home for me.
Okay.
And so it brings us back. And now we know with both of our businesses, we feel really deeply rooted here. So we just love this part of the world.
That's awesome. There's always something
Yeah.
about Texas that calls you back, because I was raised in
Yeah.
Texas and I moved away for a while. I think it was roughly about 9 years, and it's something called us back. And I met Tina outside of the state, but I brought her here and now she's in love with it. So I agree
Yeah.
with you. There's always something that calls us back.
Yeah, and we do our job. We go find somebody else to bring them, make them a true Texan, and just add to the population. So we have kids. We build, we grow, right?
Right. Well, you have a daughter right now that's at Arkansas, right?
I do. So I have twin girls.
Wow.
They graduated high school last year. They're 19. So one of them stayed local. She is getting her nursing degree at NCTC, and the other went to University of Arkansas, which she loves. Fayetteville is fantastic, and that's been a really great experience. But we did get matching Texas tattoos before she left.
That's awesome.
Texas is her home too. She's having fun in Arkansas, but she'll
be back.
Girl.
Yeah. And she's coming home here in what, 3 weeks or so?
She'll be home for the summer in a few weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into some of the things. We have you on today. You're one of the top realtors and, one of my great partners. We're really trying to teach people what they need to do to their homes to kind of get them prepared and things like that. And I know we talked about it a lot. We worked with open house on Sunday, and we kind of went around the open house, kind of share with, just with the people that are watching. Excuse me, I can't get the question out today. People that are watching, some of the things that you recommend, when it comes to possibly getting it prepared, or things that you need to do before you actually try to sell your house.
Yeah. So I think when you're thinking, okay, or something's coming, we're going to be moving this summer, then the first thing to do is just start to kind of clean up, kind of declutter. We all do it. If you guys could see my desk right now, I'd be embarrassed. But, we just you get busy. So you stash things places and you forget about them. So starting to kind of work through your clutter and clean up. And, there's also things that we only need certain times of the year. So you could pack the things away that you won't need before you move again. That's probably the first thing I say to do is declutter, walk through the house, think about cleaning up. And then it's time to talk, like, what are we doing? And if you've got deferred maintenance of any kind, because that's another thing similar to decluttering, right? We just forget. We forget to replace the HVAC air filter,
Right.
or I don't know, whatever you've got. Something happens, a door punches a hole in the wall, and you just live with it. You become like blind to it, right?
Aggressive.
Like,
Hey, I have a 17-year-old boy. It happens, and then you don't know about it because he put some flag up, and then all of a sudden you're going to take that flag down, and you're going to see that hole. It happens.
Well, I mean, all it takes is like a doorstop coming loose, like just stuff like that just happens. So
when you're going and, let's say that you already got a house that they've agreed to go with you to list it. What are some things like top 3 that you look for when you walk a house on deferred maintenance?
You
have a top 3.
So really probably one of the biggest things, and I actually do this for most of my listings. I bring somebody in to do a really deep clean, because when you see dust everywhere, it's an indicator that maybe it is or it isn't. But I think when people are walking it, they see it as kind of a red flag, like the house hasn't been taken care of.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's good for me, like, to come through with fresh eyes, because like I said, it's so easy to kind of forget, like, oh yeah, we replaced that light fixture and I never finished caulking around the edge, and so you can see ragged drywall, or just things like that. So I walk through for stuff like that, and I want to just see that the house looks clean. I don't want to see like evidence of your dog everywhere, or your little kids, because we all have them. Like, one thing that I tell people all the time is we don't sell your house the same way you live in your house,
That's a
because
good
there's no
point.
shame in that, right? Like we all have dogs, or I mean, the best of us have dogs, right?
You can tell she's a dog person, Joe. You like
Yes.
that, right?
Yes. Not
I'm
cats,
really
but
an
dogs.
animal person. I'm an animal person. But either way, pet hair
Yeah.
is part of our world when we have pets. Well, you don't really want that to be something people see if they're walking through your house considering purchasing it, right?
Yeah.
So it being clean, clean walls, clean baseboards, if that means touching up paint, that's a nice thing to do, because then people's eyes don't go to the spots, which is kind of what happens when you walk through a house. If there's a lot going on, it's almost going to feel overwhelming when really it's not that big of a deal. It's just some dirty walls or doors that needed to be wiped down. So it's kind of an easy,
Joe, you
and the
brought up
dust.
that you brought up that before about just
Yeah.
a coat of paint,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a gallon of paint, a good gallon of paint is going to be like 50, $55, right? A good gallon of Behr paint and that. And to slap that on the wall, I mean, come on, anybody can roll paint on a wall, so, well, almost.
I beg to differ. I've seen my daughter try to do that.
Well, I mean, it's super easy to just freshen up the room, whether it's a bathroom, a bedroom, or whatever. I did want to make one thing to point out. And by the way, anybody that has questions, please post them, while we have Lori here as a professional with her experience and everything. If you've got questions, post them. We'll get them answered. But yesterday, I was talking with a client of mine who was getting ready to put their home on the market. And they were told kind of a secret, because like you, realtor came through, looked at everything. And one of the first things they said was pointed out the registers on the ceiling, that they were discolored, right? And they need to be replaced or freshened up. And as well, freshened up, what do you mean? So if you take, you have to get peroxide, but it's a 13%, not your standard peroxide, but 13% peroxide. And you soak them outdoors in the sunlight. You soak them for about half a day, pull them out, set them out, and let them air dry in the sun. The color will turn right back. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And they tried it and it worked. It worked. They took the registers down, soaked them in peroxide, and it worked. It took the color back to more of a natural, white, if you will, because they were kind of yellow-like, right? I was like,
have you ever heard that, Lori?
I have not ever heard that, but I talk about air intakes all the time, because that's a spot that just sucks up dust and we don't ever see it. Our eyes never go up there. But when somebody's walking through the house, kind of inspecting it, they're definitely going to see that. So the same with those air vents, for sure. Like if they're clean, you won't even notice them. If they're the right color, you won't even notice them.
right.
If they're not, it's going to be one of the first things that draw the eye, right? Yeah.
Well, Joe, that's a great trick, because Lori and I were talking about the magic erasers, Mr. Clean's magic erasers. And using those is great to get things off. But Lori actually shared with me on Sunday, they take paint off the walls.
Yeah. Well, especially builder grade paint, right? Because it's got a higher percentage of clay in it. So it's just more likely, if you take that magic eraser to a builder grade wall, you will definitely be repainting it. So just pull it right. You can pull that texture right off. Those magic erasers are impressive. They can get a lot done, but sometimes too much, right? More than we want.
I think it's the sheen of the paint too, or the eggshell and semi-gloss and things like that. It's easier to clean. But Tanya, she makes a great point there too, Joe, if you want to read that comment that Tanya just put out there.
Yeah. As far as taking screens off of the windows, makes a huge difference. I agree. And making sure the windows are clean, because when the screens are in there, you take them off, clean the windows. I notice when I go into open houses, and Joe, I know you and I go in a bunch of them, when there's a lot of natural light coming through,
Yeah.
that's what you really want to see, is a lot of natural light. So you're right, Tanya, taking the screens off, clean the windows, let that natural light come through. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's back to the deep clean. She's absolutely right. Like every little
Mhm.
thing like that. So those are things you can do, for a month leading up to getting ready. Um, or if you are like my listing appointment yesterday, if you're like, well, I want to be closed before the end of May, then we like kick it into gear and call all the helpers in to get it done really fast. So, but getting the house clean is huge because people will overlook a lot of other things.
Mhm.
You guys hear my train? People will overlook a lot of things when they feel like, but the house is clean. Like it would be easy for us to be here. We wouldn't have, because those items that need to be done start to get added up in the buyer's head, right? As they walk through the house. And
Yep.
at some point, and it's different for every buyer, but at some point it's just more than they want to take on.
Yeah.
So by having all that stuff taken care of up front, it's just one less thing to worry about. And there's not a whole lot we can control about the market, but you can control the condition of your home.
Good
To
point.
some extent, you can't control the age, but you can control, that you've been servicing the HVAC unit annually or every season, and that you've stayed on top of your air filters, and that the place is clean and comes off.
Tanya lives
Hearing
on
the
the other
train.
side of the track over by the
Evidently.
police station area, so she hears the same train coming through.
If you're in Argyle, we're hearing the train. Yeah, it's part of our world for
That's
sure.
funny.
Well, Lori, I would imagine with, especially doing the deep clean beforehand to prepare for the open house, it's also helping to prepare for when you have pictures done, right?
Oh, yes and no. Really, pictures won't reveal dust a lot of times, unless things are really, they've gotten really bad. Pictures aren't going to reveal so much the condition of the floors if you mopped today or whatever. Windows, if we're talking about windows, you will see
Mhm.
if windows are clean or not. But usually we take pictures before we do the deep clean. I want that deep clean to happen right before the house goes active. So it's as
Nice.
clean as it can be when
Okay.
people walk through it for the first time.
So
Sure.
when
And
you
they
say,
can,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they can do amazing things with pictures, right? Professional,
That's-
well done pictures are going to look amazing. And you're not going to see, you'll see clutter. And so that's why the clutter is the first thing to work on,
Okay.
but you won't see that the counters weren't necessarily wiped down before they took the picture.
Right.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, is with the clutter, kids, people have kids, they have toys everywhere,
Mhm.
take some of those toys, put them in a bag, put them in storage, get them out of
Mhm.
the house.
Mhm.
And then that way you can keep them in a little area. And for, the picture day, make sure that area looks organized, because it's a
Yeah.
huge difference in those pictures. And, you can still have playrooms, you can still have toy rooms.
Mhm.
That's the one thing that, I've seen people have those, and it's really nice when it looks clean and nice. And I think, hey, that's how our kids' toy room will look. It's never how it looks. So,
It's not, because that's not how you live, but
right.
it feels calm. It kind of, that also like translates to closets, because closets are always something people ask about. And I feel like as long as you open the closet and you can see the storage space and not just their stuff everywhere, then you're in good shape. Like as long as it's organized, it's not just overflowing. So packing stuff in boxes, it's okay to have boxes because you're moving, right? Like people understand
Mhm.
that. So as long as you can see, you don't just see boxes when you open, you see like the shelves, you see where you can hang, you see how much space you have. It's important.
It reminds me, I'm really gonna put this out there, but the Friends episode where Ross climbs up over Nana's dresser in the closet, when they open it up, it's just right there. I know y'all watched Friends. Don't leave me hanging like that.
I got them all memorized. No, I've shown houses where you open a closet and you're like, oh, we can't open this closet. You just open it just enough to realize we can't look in that closet. There's too much stuff. So that's not what you want, right? Because
Yeah.
then people are wondering what's in that closet and what's going on. And you don't want them to think about that. You want them to think, oh, there's so much space here. This is awesome, right?
That's a good point. So,
Yeah.
when it comes to the pictures, we've talked about this. If anybody's selling a house, has an agent, that do your research and see what pictures their listings have before, is my comment to everybody that talks to an agent. Kind of share with people what your pictures entail, like how you do things for your clients. So that way, if somebody's interested in selling in the North Texas area, they know what they would get if they called you.
Yeah. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because really the reality is everybody starts their home search online now, right? Yep. Like, it's not a specific demographic. It's not a few people. Everyone is looking at those pictures. So the job of the pictures is to bring people to the house. So I have a team. It's a husband and wife team in Highland Village that I absolutely love. They're real home pics. And for my first listing, he reached out to me and was like, hey, I'll do your pictures for free. They were just starting out, and I have used them ever since. They are so good. But I feel like that's a fair question to ask your agent when you're talking about listing is, they should be transparent about how they do the pictures and all of that. So for me, I have their team comes through, and in addition to beautiful pictures, we also get drone shots. We can get neighborhood shots. We get videos. They also take all the measurements and create a floor plan for me. Wow. So I can post that and share that, because sometimes, if you are looking remotely, if you're in another state and looking at pictures and you're thinking, is that room big enough to fit that bed and dresser set that I have? And you've got the floor plan available, that's super helpful. So all of that is just standard for me. Like, that's going to get done immediately. Like, I'm never going to walk through with my phone. I will take some pictures with my phone and be outside when I put my sign up, but I'll probably post that on my social media, but that's not going on MLS.
I was just going to say, what you're saying is standard for a lot of people. Is like high-end level, because they take their iPhones and take pictures and put that on MLS.
And that just blows my mind. I feel like that's such a disservice. And you will see those houses because they won't move, because people won't go look at them, because the pictures online don't look appealing. And I have seen over $1 million homes with cell phone pictures on them, which just blows my mind.
Wow.
Yeah. And you mentioned it before. You mentioned it before. You get those flat rate realtors that might be earning $500, and they'll tell clients what to do, or they'll do those type of pictures. There is a true difference in professional real estate agents and people that just got their license because they could and they did the classes. So, if you're ever selling your house, I don't care if it's your first home, you're selling it for in the $100,000 range to $200,000 range. You'll get more money out of it by doing the things a professional real estate agent like yourself tells them to do. And if you're not considering that, I think the statistics states the professional real estate agents that take the time versus those low rate, we'll sell your house for $500. You guys get around 95 to 98% of the list price in the market currently, where those other ones are getting like 80 to 85%. So that difference in not paying for that full commission to sell your house is costing you more money by going with a low rate realtor.
Yeah. I know some of the flat fee brokers out there that just kind of send you a list of, hey, contact these people to get pictures, and all of that's on you. Where I do that for my people, I coordinate and make sure the timing works, but I'm going to schedule that. I'm going to schedule the cleaning help to get in there. The other thing that you don't think about necessarily is the time on the market. You think, well, I'm going to save, $10,000 or $15,000. But if you're actually on the market for, over 3 months, you've got holding costs. Maybe you're in that house, maybe you're not. If you're in the house in that time, then you're for 3, 4, 5, 6 months keeping the house ready for people to come see.
Mhm.
That is exhausting. Even if it's just one person living in a house, that's exhausting. And if you're not there, because I did an open house a few weekends ago for someone who's moved out already, and I had to tell him, I went and looked at the house on Thursday. Hey, the pool is pretty green. Like, we've had a lot of rain, so you probably need to get your pool guy out here. But the house has been on the market for several months, and you don't know that when you've already moved. So just kind of all in the effort of like hitting the ground running when you hit MLS, kind of having all your ducks in a row. You really want to minimize time on the market and you maximize what they get for their house for sure. So I
Yeah.
think those both are definitely affected by the way the home is presented by the realtor.
Absolutely. And plus, I mean, those are wanting to, save the 10, 12, 15 grand by doing it themselves, what have you. If that home's going to be on the market for 30, 45, 60, maybe 90 days, during that time, most likely you're going to take your price down. You're going to have to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Point, you're
Yes.
going to take it down 10, 15 grand. Okay. Now you've lost even more money, right?
Mhm.
Instead of hiring a professional.
Yeah. I actually showed a house a couple weekends ago that had been on the market 8 months.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know. Such a long time. But just back to that, at that point, when people see it online, they're thinking, well, something's wrong with it.
Something's wrong
So
with it, yeah.
you just, as a seller, are desperate just to get people out there at that point. At that
Mhm.
point, if you could go back in time, I'm sure you would, unless you're stubborn, like just be like, yes, what can we do to just hit the market strong?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Good stuff.
No, thank you for sharing all this information. I know we could keep going and going. The last question that I have, and then I'll turn back over to Joe, is you said people that move out and are gone. What is your theory on should they leave the house vacant when it's showing, or is it better to maybe pay somebody to come and stage it or come up with some furniture to put in there to stage some areas? What is your thought process on that?
Yeah, it depends because everybody's situation is different and neighborhoods are different. We live in a place that's massive. And so you kind of get into micro markets, where certain neighborhoods, different things are happening. So if I can get pictures with furniture in them, that's the minimum. Like at least then, if you move out, that's fine. We'll kind of walk through like, well, what if you just left these things so that people can still see how much space there is in here, that this bed fits in this room or whatever. But houses that have furniture in them do sell better. They sell quicker. But sometimes that's too much of a hassle because you
Mhm.
do have a couple dogs or a few kids, and it's just going to be so much work that that's not ideal. So we can usually kind of knowing what to expect from the market, just from the neighborhood and everything that is happening, we can kind of gauge how to balance that based with
Okay.
what works best for you.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, Lori, thank you so much for coming on our show today. Really appreciate all the insights we've been able to give to our listeners out there. For any of you wanting to get a hold of Lori, though, ask more questions or look at having her list your home, down below, you can see running across the ticker at the bottom there. You can reach out to her via phone 214-498-7879. And next week, we're going to continue on with our series on open houses for the spring housing market. So be sure to tune in next week at our usual time, Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central. And thank you to everyone for tuning in today and today's show. If you want to catch any of our past episodes, go to our YouTube channel, The Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast. And please, while you're there, hit the subscribe button. We are on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Before I close things out, Joe, any last comments?
I just want to say thank you again to Lori. You're a great partner, and thank you for coming on and sharing. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, give her a call. It would be a great win for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Well, I am Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy over there with the beard is Cup of Joe Mortgage. We'll see you next time.
Mr.